So today, at the beginning of this video, we are going to start with a recap of steps 1 through 7. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick recap. It's not going to take very long, and then we're going to get into step 8 and 9. Okay, so first of all, we talked about step 1 yesterday. Okay, step 1 is we're going to examine powerless. What does that mean? Obsession, craving, okay, and unmanageability. Okay, all of these things combine in that written step 1. We're going to pull those out of that written step 1, right, that we talked about in the step 1 video. You'll have to go back to check it out and polish up on it if you really need to, okay? But essentially, this is what we're looking at about our real life, and then we either accept it, understand it, etc. Right? Now, if we don't accept it, that's fine. You just have to not pick up a drink. Okay? If I talk about alcohol, I'm just talking about that one thing, not trying to exclude everything else. But that is my cross to bear, so I will use that one. So, through this, seeing this written out in step 1, then we have to do this. We either, and now the book talks about it, we accept it, understand it, etc. The book talks about it, how does it say it? It talks about accepting it. Oh, we have to concede. Sorry for the delay there, but a little slow trauma brain, bad brain. We have to concede to our innermost selves. Innermost selves. Okay? For lots of us, that's our shadow self. That's the self that we didn't want to acknowledge was us, that we used to practice whatever we were practicing. Sometimes, not everybody. Okay? So that's step 1, essentially, in a nutshell. Step 2 and 3. Okay? We went over step 2 and 3, and okay, so step 2 and 3 is we need to recognize that our way isn't working. Okay? We have to recognize and accept that our way isn't working. And then we have to find another way. Okay? Another way to live. Essentially, getting us out of the way. So if you've watched the first few videos, getting out of the way is a big part of what we're trying to do. Okay? So step 2 and 3. We are making the decision to get out of the way in step 3. We are recognizing that our way isn't working and that another way might be better for us. Okay? It's not, yes, the step 2 and 3 are specific to a spiritual God of some kind, but it's not necessary. Okay? What we're looking at is the principle of that step, and what we're trying to do is get out of the way. Okay? So, step 4 and 5, I might not write this one down because my back is sore today, so I'll probably just stand up and read it to you or try to discuss it here. So step 4 and 5, we become aware, okay? We shed light upon, and we start to accept the facts of our lives. This is about the facts. That's all it is. This is a fact-finding mission, 4 and 5. We need to look at the facts. We need to understand those are the facts, and then eventually, hopefully, if we choose to, or if we're able to at some point through the work, accept the fact that this was our life. Okay? We're not accepting the fact that this is who we are. We're accepting the fact that that is who we were. Those are the things we did, right? But today, moving forward, we have an opportunity not to be back there. Okay? So, and step 6 and 7. Step 6 and 7. Okay? Step 6 and 7 is we're taking what we learned, thus far, okay? We take what we learned, we take action to do and be different. Be different from the old us. Okay? So we're looking at a new way of life here. It's 5, 6, and 7. Okay? Now, these defects that we're going to pull out in step 6, defects do not define us. Oops. Do not define us, but they shed light. They shed light on where we went wrong. The very exact nature of those wrongs, right? That's what we're trying to get out in 5, was the exact nature of our wrongs. Now in 6, we're going to look at those and say, okay, you know what? That's what I looked like when I was out there practicing. I looked like a guy who lied a lot, manipulated, was shady. No wonder people thought I was shady, because I was pretty shady, right? And it wasn't like shady like robbing banks. It was shady, just a shady person for no reason to be shady, which is even stranger. But you just feel so guilty all the time you start acting shady. Okay? So we want then, in step 7, right? We're not defining us. In step 7, we try and get out of the way. Get out of our own way. Okay? So it's another opportunity for us to surrender to the fact that the way we have lived has not been healthy or helpful to us. Okay? Not all of it, of course. It's not all going to be bad. There's going to be, lots of us had some fun. It's just that at the end, the fun was minimal and the pain was exaggerated, right? So I guess that's how we talk about a bottom. And not the other kind of bottom, which comes around every year on Pride Day, which is my favorite kind of bottom. We might have to cut that out too. Yeah, we're going to have to cut that out. All right, so step 6 and 7, perfect. So I know that was short, concise, just a quick review before we move on to step 8 and 9. But I just wanted to make sure we go back over this in case you hadn't read the videos. So 6 and 7, now look. Some people say that 6 and 7, it's not about behavior modification. It absolutely is part and parcel with behavior modification. But what we're also trying to do, we're modifying our behavior if we can, and we're getting out of the way when we can't, right? So if I can't modify my behavior because I am gripping it with such an obsessive grip, because I'm so afraid that that's going to get me, that's going to get me. The tighter I grip, the more I resist, the more it persists, right? And that's not, I didn't make that up. Somebody a long time ago probably said that, and I'm guessing it was a Buddhist. So anyway, if it persists, okay, the more we resist, the more it persists. Okay, so let's just try to let this stuff go and move into a new way to live as best we can. It's not going to be a perfect science. Wait, before we move on, step 8 and 9 video, I want to, not perfect. Sorry, I was trying to speak and write at the same time. We're not going to do any of this perfectly. I've yet to meet anyone who's done it even remotely close to perfectly, and specifically myself, not even close, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to get better. We're trying to pave the way so we can gradually and continuously grow, right, in our lives, whatever your life looks like for you. So, right on. So that's it. Any questions, Darcy?
I'm good.
Good? You feel like you've got it all figured out now?
You betcha.
Nice. That's a good dude, man. Thanks. All right. So now we're going to start talking about step 8 and step 9. Now, you've noticed probably I haven't repeated what the steps are. You can easily find that out, and maybe we'll attach the word-for-word steps in the description, okay, or something like that. Just so you can kind of have a reference point if you've never... I kind of assumed that the people who would be watching this probably have some idea of the steps, and I shouldn't assume that. Because we all know what assumption means. It makes an ass out of me, an umption, and that's no good. Poor umption. Right? So anyway, step 8 and 9, I'll work those together. Okay, because they do go hand in hand, and it really does help to have a frame of reference for step 9 with step 8. Because now what we're doing in step 9 is we're going to go back into the world of other people. Okay, so we have to be really careful, because myself and lots of people I know from experience, we weren't very careful when it came to other humans, right? We were very one way about it. We wanted what we wanted, and that's what we did. So step 8, before we get here and we start messing with people again, we stop here and we pause. Okay? It's a pause step. Okay? We make a list. It's just a list. We're going to do some discussion about that list if you hopefully have someone you can talk to. Okay? We're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about the people, what we did to them. Okay? On the list. Now, some people do this like, yes, maybe, they make a list. 3 lists. Yes, maybe, never. Okay? So I don't separate them. I put all those same people in the same list. But that's just how I do it. You can do it however you want, whatever works for you. But the reason I do it here is because it says, make a list of all people we harm. So that means even people that harmed us, we still put our harms on this list. Okay? And we'll talk more about that with step 9, but we're going to try our best not to bring whatever they did into step 9. With us when we go and make contact. It's very important we try to do that to the best of our ability. Nothing's perfect. This is not a perfect science, okay? So we're going to make a list of all the people that we harmed, all we harmed, okay? And we're going to become willing. Okay? So becoming willing means we're going to go through this process. Okay? We're going to have discussion with someone we trust. We're going to make a list. We're going to pause. When we pause, what I recommend we do when we pause, whenever you hear that, pause, breathe, etc. That's the pause, okay? The pause is we're stopping to breathe. Now, when you stop and breathe, if you're a prayer, you can pray, you can meditate. Matter of fact, whatever you do in terms of that, I would recommend you do lots of it during this time, because what we're trying to possess ourselves of when we get to step 9 is something that most of us didn't have when we came in, right? And that is, we want to be possessed of integrity and purpose. We want to understand that our purpose over here is to clean our street. That's the purpose of this. It is not to be forgiven. It is not to be forgotten. It is simply to clean our street, okay? We're not practicing here to beg. Okay? As a matter of fact, the literature talks about that. We do not grovel before other men or women or humans, right? We don't grovel. That's not what this is about. Oftentimes people make that mistake and they think that we're looking for forgiveness. We are just trying for the first time in our lives, perhaps, to be honest with those people that we've harmed. That is what we're trying to do. Simply be honest. Okay? And clean our street, not theirs. Now, don't get me wrong. When you make an amends to somebody, so this is going to be direct, okay? Unless it's going to harm them or others. And we'll talk, obviously, about that. So direct amends, we just want to make sure what we're carrying into that conversation is our side of it. And what we're doing, maybe to get better, but really we're just trying to make amends for what we've done. Now, if they're interested in what we're doing, that's fine. We can talk to them all day long. It's going to be really tough for some people, like it was for me, to not get pulled in to the story again, okay? Especially when it came to like exes, right? Even if it was girls or guys, the exes would always be more difficult for me to make actual amends to, okay? Now, a couple reasons why in the beginning it was really difficult for me was because I never discussed it with anybody. I did it all on my own. I didn't put all that I harmed. I wasn't really willing to make an amends. What I really wanted was I was acting out of selfishness, right? Which is one of the reasons why it's really important to have somebody walk with us during this time, going through this process, is because we're not going to be the best judges of our sanity during this time, and we're not going to be the best judges of what's real and what's not real, okay, in terms of other people's stuff. That's one of the reasons why we focus on ours, okay, is because if we get focused on our stuff, nobody can mess that up, okay? They can't mess that up if we're focused on what we got to do, but it doesn't mean we might give them a chance to talk, give them a chance to express themselves, and I would hope that we would, right? Express themselves. However, they do that. Now, some people express themselves with words, maybe they'll get mad at you, but at no point in time, we do not take abuse, okay? Now, not taking abuse doesn't give us the carte blanche to then be abusive, right? We're not going to take abuse here because we're not asking for forgiveness. Okay? We're not asking for it. We do not ask for forgiveness. Now, at this stage, I encourage everyone to look up the 12 Steps of the 12 Traditions Guide as a side piece of literature, because 8 and 9, actually, all the steps get more comprehensive in the 12 and 12. Okay? Step 8 and 9, specifically in the 12 and 12, is where I take people back when we're working through amends. The reason is because, first of all, I need a refresher all the time, but second is because that book actually tells us when we're okay to do this, right? And so I'm going to encourage you to get that book, okay, and read the first paragraph, okay, of Step 9. It is giving us the answers that we're looking for in Step 8, okay? It talks about being prudent, okay, courageous, sense of timing, okay, etc. So these are the things we're going to need when we know we can be prudent. Really, when I think of prudent, I just think of rational. Okay, it's rational. It's not over the top. It's not under the top. It's rational. Okay. Whenever I think of being prudent, I just think of being rational. Okay. Back to center. Try to be centered. Right. So, anyways, Step 9, we are just going to try to possess ourselves of some qualities that we may not have. I know I didn't have them right away, but we want to be honest. I actually said that twice, but I'll write it twice as well, because honesty, again, going back to the other videos, is going to be our foundation. Okay? The more honest we can be with ourselves over here, okay, honesty, the more honest we'll be with others over here. Okay? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of Step 9, when it went well, and one when it didn't go so well. Okay? So 1, amends. Now, I did way more amends poorly than properly. The first few years I made half-assed efforts and just said I'm sorry about stuff. But the reality is my behavior showed myself and others I was not sorry. Okay, so those amends needed to happen again. And some of them have, some of them might never happen. That's okay. I still keep them on the list. And I don't care why they're on the list. I don't force this. One of the things that we want to ask and have a discussion is we want to ask for guidance. Okay, on the sense of timing, right? We want to ask for guidance on whether we're being prudent and rational. Okay, so a bad one, actually no, it was a good one, because I learned in this experience that I don't take abuse. We don't take abuse. It came right to mind when this happened. I got slapped by an ex-girlfriend when I was making amends, and she went to hit me twice, and I said, you only get one. Okay, that was for me to say, because I could handle one slap. It was already over anyway, and she had it coming. Honestly, if she had pulled a gun out and taken my life, people would have been like, yeah, you might have had it coming. I was not good to that human, right? So, and I'm not being cavalier about that. I processed lots of that, and actually I can talk to that person now. Okay, so that's a bad one. No, that's a good one, because I was honest, and being honest got me slapped in the face, and I had it coming. Okay, so a bad one would be one when I went with an ex-girlfriend. Of course, I didn't ask it for any help or guidance. I just knew what I needed to do, and I did it like a dumb beast that I was. I walked in and I did it. So one was I got slapped. I think that was probably a good one, because also it taught me that I do not take abuse, because I said no more of that, right? But then there was another girl who was an ex, and man, I must have made amends to her 3 times in the span of 2 years. And all 3 times ended us back together, okay? Because I wasn't asking for any help. And every time we got back together, I would just hurt her again, and we would fall into our same role over and over again, right? Because neither her nor I could really see what was happening, okay? It was not till hindsight, unfortunately. But we can use those poor examples as a learning mechanism, okay? Because I know for a fact, there's probably other contributors to it as well, but I know for a fact, had I asked for guidance of my sponsor at the time, he would have said, are you crazy? Okay, but that's why I didn't ask him. I didn't ask him because I know he was going to say, are you crazy? Right? Or basically just call me crazy. So when we get caught up in this stuff here, we get caught up in our ego and the story. Okay? We get caught up in the story of us and the person, or the thing, whatever that is, that we owe amends to. We get caught up in the story that we've told ourselves all of our life up until this moment, right? Up until maybe you did your first step 4 and 5. So, any questions, Darcy?
That's good, man.
Yeah?
That's good.
Okay, so we just want to make sure that when we get to step 8 and 9, we're working with somebody. Okay, so we don't want to go out here in step 9 and do what I did, which is create a bunch more chaos. And actually, I did that more than once to one person, right? I was caught up in this loop of doing this, probably for way too long. I don't even know how long. It was a few years while I was sober, but I got caught up in that cycle of just repeating this awful approach to trying to do something good, right? But I always thought, prior to starting, that I had to ask for forgiveness. It wasn't until I realized I'm not trying to ask for forgiveness. I am simply trying to clean my street. Okay? I'm not asking for someone to say, "Good job, Dave." I'm not asking for someone to do anything. Except what I will do is if I come in contact with someone I haven't seen for a long time, or I have no way of contacting them except for searching them out, I don't search them out. Okay? You can do however you feel is best, but all my experience of searching people out has ended in me making a poor choice. Okay? Most of those experiences anyway. And so I stopped doing that after I ran into all this trouble. Obviously, I learned the hard way. You don't have to, but you can if you want. Although I will caution you because it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to have people on your list that might be there forever, right? So if you don't have that, Godspeed, man. So step 8 and 9, we're pausing, we're making a list. It's just a list. Just write all the names down of who you harmed. You don't have to show anybody. You can do it in 3 sections if you want. Yes, maybe never. Or you can put it all on the same list. Before you do anything with that list, I'm going to reiterate how important it is to ask for guidance and have a discussion with someone or ones that you trust, okay? Before you move forward. Now, what we're going to be listening for in any of the guidance we seek, one of the things I caution people on is because sometimes advice goes around like crazy. The only thing I'm going to recommend, because I don't know what's right for you, and I don't know what's right for other people. I barely know what's right for me. And I mean that, I barely know. So what we want to do is, I can't remember what I was talking about.
You were talking about making sure you talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, thank you. Yes. So when we want to make sure we ask for guidance because, first of all, we can't trust our brain. Not with this stuff. Not yet. We're too fresh. We're still wounded. We're going to want to be defensive about what we've done and about what they did, right? So what we're really trying to do is find some guidance that is rational. That's what I was looking for. Rational. Okay? Rational. So if you get guidance that you think is hysterical, it might be hysterical. So what would be an example of hysterics? Don't ever do it. That's hysterical. Or you better do it or you're going to die. That's hysterical. You better do it my way or you're going to die. That's hysteria, right? That is fear-based stuff, and that is not necessary for us. We want to look for rational. Something that makes sense, right? Practical. Okay? Practical. What makes sense here? Does it make sense for me to chase my ex down the street if I see her with her new husband and children? Probably not, right? That probably doesn't make sense. So what I need to do is just step back, right? So we stay in step 8, we ponder, we talk, and then when we're equipped with these right things, sense of timing, prudence, honesty, courage, those things, then we move forward, okay? Recognizing that we're not going to make this perfect, okay? And also recognizing that we don't abuse, nor do we take abuse from other people, okay? Just because we're guilty of some things that are probably pretty shitty, right? And we're feeling that shame and guilt from those things, which we have earned, okay? We might have a tendency not to want to do this, right? And I can appreciate that tendency, because some people we should never talk to again. And I couldn't tell you who those people are for you, but I certainly have a decent idea who they are for me. So anyway, good luck with step 8 and 9, and the next video we'll be doing step 10.